You and 50, y'all had a back and forth on social media about Big Meech, and you ended up apologizing to 50. If you can you give me the backstory behind that? What's going on with Big Meech?
Yo, bruh, I don't want to be like everybody on the internet and come to any kind of assumptions about this. So I went and I read the paperwork. You understand? I read what was available. I asked some agents that were friends of mine. They were my fraternity brothers about certain situations. I asked guys who had that 848 kingpin charges. I asked guys who was in jail at the time. And I got all the information from them. But I could be just like everybody else and just have assumptions about the whole situation. So the thing about with 50 and me, when I said took up for Meech, it was because I've been around Meech. You understand? I've had conversations with Meech, and I always known Meech as being a stand-up guy. You understand? And so then I jumped out the window. You understand? Because I didn't see that in Meech. I didn't see him doing that. But that's not none of my business to know the intricate parts of it. So me to speak on that, I had to go and see what was out there. And now, yo, you might have to have a whole nother hour to this, bro, because it's longer than what people realize it is. And I'm gonna try to do it as short as possible. Is this Meech and that girl Tammy, Tammy Collins, who somehow he gave his rights to the BMF thing to. You understand? And she was giving it up on both sides to the panties to everybody. That's what you could tell because she was even having sexual relationships with the agent and the DEA. T-state agents, you do not get involved with the women that you are got under investigations and they CIs for you. But somehow she got to this agent, and this agent was giving her mad money, $2,500 a week. And then she gets a check for $80,000. She gets checks for $250,000. They had to cut it off so he wouldn't have to. They had to cut him out the system where he couldn't give her nothing and he couldn't have no rights to the computers or anything, bro. It was crazy. So now what I'm hearing and what I'm thinking and what I'm seeing is that Meech connected her allegedly with the dude Cuffy, but I don't believe that he connected her with Cuffy as far as the paperwork going, because Meech would have been recharged and everything. If he would have connected her with Cuffy, he probably would have been recharged, you know what I'm saying, for the drug trafficking thing that they caught Cuffy in, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? But it's paperwork out there. I believe that he connected her with Cuffy because Cuffy wanted to buy the rights, to do the movie or whatever like that. And then somehow it got to whereas that the agents knew Cuffy and used her to get at him with these other people, these other two Spanish dudes that people don't talk about, Suarez and Fernando or whatever like that. Because those Spanish guys don't care nothing. Those Mexicans don't care nothing about blacks. They snitch on you. Y'all talk about ratting and snitching on them. That's all they do. They call that business. They call that business. So what I'm seeing is far different from what I'm hearing. In the paperwork, you don't see that Meech was a cooperative third party. Because when I spoke to the agents that I spoke to, shout out to my bros, when I spoke to them, they said this. In order for Tammy to have Meech as a cooperating third-party cooperative, the agent has to speak to Meech at least once with his legal counsel. They're going to draw up the paperwork, and it's some kind of secret thing that I forgot the name of it, man. I'm sorry about that. But they draw up the paperwork that he's going to be a third-party cooperative with, and she's going to be working off time for him. This is what the agents them are telling me. He said they cannot do that unless they talk to Meech. Now, there's nowhere in that paperwork that is said that the agent spoke to Meech or Meech is in that paperwork, because they have to write everything and present that. They got to cross their T's and dot their I's. Now, I'm getting this from agents who do the work for the DEA. They retired so they could tell me this. You understand? So I looked at that. Now I go back and I look at the whole situation and I say, well, I didn't see nothing that in that paperwork. Maybe it's something out there. I don't know. I didn't see it. I can only go by what I hear and what I see. So now I look at Meech's paperwork and look at his time, and it coincides with the time cuts and all this stuff like that. But then I was like, in our time, because there's a lot of guys that sold way more drugs than Meech. They got a guy in California, one guy that sold way more drugs than the whole BMF thing. You understand what I'm saying? So, but why did he get the time cut? And then I had to see that his cooperation with the government was not taking it to trial. His cooperation with the government was convincing his brother not to go to trial. His cooperation with the government was telling the 5 people below him that he supervised in his plea agreement. And everybody does that. They do a plea agreement, they say what they did, and the government, they had to go in front of the judge and say, yo, the government, the prosecutor said, that's true, something else is true. So that's what they have to do. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what he did. He helped the government in a plea agreement by not going to trial. That would have been a 6 to 8 month trial, because they had about 35 to 50 witnesses against them. And then you got to realize, and that's how he got the cut, not the kingpin charge. It's a 848C or something like that, 848B, C. I don't know what the shit it is. I don't remember it. But that's why he didn't get. He got the 30 years, and then he got certain time cuts for not going to trial, for convincing his brother not to go to trial. And I guess he convinced the 5 people that he said that he said that he supervised. Because, they didn't have an opportunity, I guess, because had they went to trial, Meech already gave a statement that he supervised them. So they couldn't go to trial. So it's a whole lot of shit in there that I cared nothing of, but I cared enough to look at it because I jumped out the window on 50. So 50 has some other information. 50 has some other things, and he probably had way more information than I did, so I apologized to him. You understand? Because it was something I should have kept my mouth closed about. But because I knew Meech was always a stand-up guy, you understand? Because I knew Meech was always that dude, I jumped out the window on 50. So I apologize, because evidently 50 had way more information than I had. 50 had some other stuff or saw some other things that I didn't see. So now I apologize to 50. 50 came back and said, apology accepted, Gene. And then everybody on the whole internet got into it, was talking about, yo, why 50 accepted Jane apology? 50 is relentless. He usually go out and clown people and say this and say that. 50, one man to the next man, know that when he had his altercation, his situation with Ja Rule, when he was at Black Hands around the Black Hands crew, I stood up in his defense and I told him what I needed to tell him. And as men, he respected that. So as far as that Meech thing and that 50 thing, bruh, I want to stay out of it. I said what I said because I told you that I was going to tell you, like, and your fans, what was the situation with that and what I found out about that. You understand? But that's one thing I want to stay out of it right there. And I respect both of them as men. That's their thing. They do their thing. 50 didn't jump out the window on me because he know as a man that I'm my own man and I've always been. And he know no matter who it is or whatever the situation, I'm going to always stand up